And we're live. We are live with another episode of the Blue Crocus Experience, and I'm joined today by Rivers Corbett, founder of Cheftorial. We're going to dive into that, some other businesses that he's had on the go. Rivers, it's awesome to have you here.
Louis, I've been an admirer of yours, buddy, since you started your journey, and we connected way back when. And yeah, you're a rock star. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Well, without any further ado, I'm just going to share this out. We'll do a little countdown, and then we'll dive into things.
Okay, cool.
I kind of like the music countdown.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
I've been like, man, I should get an intro, but this works for now. So, Rivers, awesome to have you here. Excited to dive into it. I know a bit about your story, a bit of the ups and downs, but I think you go well back before we got to meeting.
Yep.
And I think when we met, it was actually, this may be our first face-to-face conversation, if you can go that far.
Yeah, I think it is actually. I mean, I've seen your picture on, because you run the Fredericton Business Community Facebook page, and of course seen you with that and your promos and working in the pavement world and so on. So I've seen your face around, but I think you're right. It's the first time we've actually done an eyeball to eyeball. I mean, that's just a testament to how easy business works when you're hanging out with good people.
Oh man, it's awesome. Yeah, because I know when I first jumped in, I think in 2019, I had you on the phone a couple of times asking you about some business stuff, and you were very helpful. So awesome to be able to repay the favor a little bit with some more, publicity and kind of get some more eyes on what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Give people an idea of who Rivers is. Where you can go back as far as you want, but catch us up on who you are and where you've come from, and then we'll kind of touch some points along the way that you and I have discussed and go from there.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I always call it the nickel tour, Louis, so we'll give you a quick and dirty with it. I'm born into an entrepreneurial family. I really believe I'm on the planet to be an entrepreneur, to serve entrepreneurs. It's just in my DNA. It's in my blood. I absolutely love playing in the game, and I love winning in the game also. You lose a lot, but you also gain a lot too. It's a great journey. So yeah, kind of claims to fame for me during that journey, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 plus years. Relish Gourmet Burgers was my buddy and I, Chef Ray Henry, started Relish Gourmet Burgers. We grew that to 12 operations across the country. That's another dog's breakfast story, but it was a fun ride when it was going. I started a company over 20 years ago called Rent a Chef, which was all about taking the talents of chefs and bringing them into the marketplace and find opportunities for them. And we're going to get into a little bit of Cheftorial too, also, which is so crazy when I think about that journey. All my success has been in the area of food and beverage, and I am the furthest thing from a cook or a chef you'll ever find. I hate to cook, but I love the industry. And so that's kind of fun. After COVID hit, with Rent a Chef, we were actually providing Sobeys with all the chefs to do their cooking classes in their stores. We were doing about 70 classes a week for them throughout Atlantic Canada. We were running the airport, Fredericton Airport restaurant. So we had a good little business going. COVID took it all away, and then we pivoted to do Cheftorial, which I think you're going to want to get into later anyway. Also along the journey, it's not just to me about being an entrepreneur, it's to serve entrepreneurs. And I really believe entrepreneurs are going to save the world. No disrespect to our healthcare workers, no disrespect to our people in the armed forces, teachers, and so on. But the very fabric of society really happens because entrepreneurs happen. And I'm talking about the monetary side. I'm talking the employment side. I'm talking the tax-based side. So people always get a little wonky with me when I say that. Well, you're telling me the teachers don't contribute. No, I'm saying the teachers don't work for free. That's what I'm saying. And so That's part of it. So yeah, servitude for me is I was the entrepreneur in residence for the University of New Brunswick for 3 years, and then for another 3 years for the province. And so did some amazing journeys being their EIR. It was a great time. I remember when I started, I went to Stephen Lund, the CEO, and I said, "So what do you want me to do as the entrepreneur in residence?" She says, "I don't know, you go figure it out." So it was perfect because that's what I'd like to do, right? Is go figure out that stuff. So we helped some communities around the province, and it was really good. Also helped found Startup Canada. I was one of the founding board members of Startup Canada, and you're well aware of that organization. So really ooze entrepreneurship, not only for serving, but playing in the game also.
Man, that's a wild ride, and I should note too for the listeners, I have guests from all over the country, and you're actually only a couple hours from me. I'm in Fredericton, New Brunswick, and you're currently in Moncton, although you may be moving soon. But kind of nice to have some New Brunswick people on as well.
Right on, brother. That's cool.
And I didn't realize. So you started Rent-A-Chef way back in the day. You said 20 years ago.
Yep.
And that was running up until last year when everything kind of fell apart and no one was eating in public places anymore.
Yeah, that's right. It really took the whole public realm out face to face. I'm a chef pimp is really how I market myself. And you need the chefs to go places, and I get them there free, and they do their job. Everybody gets paid along the way, but it was all done in public. People's houses, business operations, all those sorts of things. And so, yeah, COVID took it all away. So I was one of those ones that lost everything because of COVID. At the airport, you know what happens to planes, they stop. So no businesses at all there. So I had to pivot and really pivot. It brought the entire whole process of culinary experiences online. And where the opportunity was in areas of virtual events. Because in the good old days, food and beverage was one of the first things you thought about when it was organizing events. With virtual events, it's one of the last things because people just don't know how to do it. And so we've solved that problem through them, and we now operate throughout North America and into the UK.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, because I wasn't, when we initially started talking, some of your other ventures were kind of what was on my mind. I didn't realize how big Rent-A-Chef was and how how far reaching that was, and to have that all go down would be pretty catastrophic. I know you started coming out with some of the stories. You kind of dug in and disappeared, I think, to from the public eye to figure out what you were going to do.
I did. Yeah, that's interesting. You noticed that I did disappear, and I disappeared on purpose. And I still like being disappeared because I needed to be diligent, disciplined, and focused, and to deal with what I had to deal with.
Yeah, no, and you kind of rebuilt it, and I mean, I think it was a post a week or so ago where you said, it's a year since everything kind of went down, and you've seen some incredible successes with Cheftorial. So let's dive right into Cheftorial, and let's talk about let's start where it's all falling apart. Let's start where everything's crumbling, and walk through some of your feelings and experiences last year, because it as much as we don't like to talk about what's going on with COVID. It's been real. It's affected real people, and so bring out some of the kind of messier side of entrepreneurship for us.
Yeah, it's an awesome question, and when actually, interesting enough, before COVID even hit, my mind was already heading towards how can I put this model online and have people order the services we were doing, but have chefs throughout the country. So you have a couple of chefs in Toronto, a couple of chefs in Vancouver, and so that people would just order the service, and you would just allocate the business to those chefs. So you had allocated, or you had throughout the country, and so my mindset was already there. But when COVID came along, of course, like I say, everything just left, and I was reminded my friend Haley Bohan. I don't know if you met her. She lives in St. John. But I remember talking to her very soon after COVID hit and things started to fall apart. She said, Rivers, this is what entrepreneurs are made of. She says, we face pandemics every day of our journey. So what's a real pandemic? It's just we're always dealing with those punches in the face and the punch in the nose. And I don't want your audience to think being an entrepreneur is always like it, because it's lovely, and I've been doing it in my career for over 20 plus years, so it's good stuff. But so my attitude was, let's go at it. unlike you, my kids had already grown up. I didn't have responsibilities there. Relationships were not there anymore. So I really had nothing to lose except move forward. I didn't have to look after anybody except for Rivers. And so that afforded me the luxury to just throw caution to the wind and dive in. And I did. And if your audiences that are in Canada will understand that the government was providing money to prop up those organizations that have done business before. So I had the chef business, and I had the airport business. So government money became available to me to begin the journey of building this online virtual interactive live culinary experiences with chefs actually taking you through the preparation of a meal that you're involved with. This is not a YouTube video mode. This is artificial intelligence to a T. You are in the game, and you do that out of your own kitchen. And so we started, interesting enough, to talk about some of the pains with going after a social market. Ladies wanting to get together with their friends, birthday parties, and so on, but it just didn't take off. And then the light bulb moment went on my head. Okay, one, Zoom overnight has become the way to communicate. Two, all these chefs are now available. And three, people are really into home cooking. And four, the virtual event space needed a solution to food and beverage. And so I went after them solely, and they're looking after corporations who needed to bring sales teams together, who needed to bring customers together, who needed to educate, who still needed to socialize with their customers or their teammates. And so we started to get a lot of business from corporations that want to bring our experiences to their customers, to their teams, and it started to just explode. Like I say, across Canada, into the United States. We just did an event about a month ago where it was a health expo for an audience specifically in the Middle East. And wow. Because the chefs are so diverse now, we got a chef from the UK who was Turkish who could do this, and so this has really grown up very, very nicely for us. So that's Cheftorial 1.0 and continues to afford some really cool experiences for us. But we've just actually launched Cheftorial 2.0, which is a supper club model. And what that supper club model allows the chefs to have now is their own independent businesses using our platform of technology, marketing, ticketing, kind of like an Airbnb, but it's specifically for chefs to do their own Cheftorial journey. So that's the second part.
So walk us through how that works, Rivers. If I'm part of a big company and they're throwing an event with you guys and they're bringing you in,
yep.
Obviously we're all hooking up over Zoom and we're all on the screen, whatever.
Yep.
And you'd have the main chef or two in their kitchen walking through the process. Do I have to go out and buy a pre-vetted list of ingredients, or is that shipped to me? Or
yeah, it's a great question. It's one of the Achilles heels we deal with usually. Is not much, but it's getting there. Is that in Canada, that's exactly what happens, is that we provide you with a pre-experience direction, the chef video. Here's what you're going to experience. Here's your document that shows you the ingredients you need, but also the shopping list that you need to have, and a little bit of prep work going into it. And that shopping list, most of those ingredients are already in your house anyway. So you're able to take that. So it's really about an hour prep to get ready to participate in a Cheftorial.
Builds the suspense and the excitement, right?
Yeah, it does. And actually, one of our favorite ones is tacos and margaritas, because we bring in mixologists and sommeliers. But we've got one program that's a mystery dinner where you actually go get the ingredients and you don't know what you're making. So we'll do all kinds of neat things that way. And then we bring in elements of when you're actually in the event. Now think about when you go to a regular awards dinner, you go and there's tables everywhere and there's 12 tables around. So for your audience, just to think about, okay, you're gathering together with 15 kitchens to work with the chef to build your meal. And so we bring a lot of educational play into it. We talk about knife skills, but we have a lot of fun too. And this is one thing that we've done that nobody else in the world is doing, and it's an East Coast roots, and I absolutely love it. When I say the word sociable to you, do you know what that means?
It's a little like cracker.
Yeah, that's true, but it's also a drink, right? When you're in a bar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's right. It is a sociable cracker. You're thinking food, but yeah. So, but the sociable around where we're from, you raise your glass, and you're at a bar, you're at Dolan's, and the band says sociable, and everybody raises their hand. Nobody knows except the people in the Maritimes what a sociable is. So we've got people throughout North America now tying into doing these called sociables when they're in one of our cheftorials. And here's the cool thing about it is that it's just a small little thing, but they absolutely love it. So what happens is that the guests are now unmuting themselves and yelling sociable halfway through the cheftorial because they want to play in that game. So
have you turned that into merch, Rivers?
That's what's happening, dude.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm talking about podcasts, and I want to get you on this. I'm starting a podcast called The Sociable, which is all about how families and friends engage in social activities. So,
that's exciting.
It's coming, man. And the great thing about it is nobody else can claim it authentically. They can try to put it in, but where our business was born in the East Coast, so we know the sociable.
I love that. Yeah, and it gives because every great movement has something that everyone can buy into, and so buying into that, merch, that's going to become something that 10 years down the road, everybody's going to know what that means, and they're going to be Googling how did this start, and it's going to be some remote town in New Brunswick, right?
It's funny, eh? It's funny. I was shocked. I've asked a bunch of people, okay, does anybody, when I'm talking to prospects, I say, well, bring the sociable. Do you know what a sociable is? Nobody knows. Nobody in Quebec knows. Nobody in Toronto knows, unless you're from the Maritimes in Toronto. And I really like it. So we're bringing things like that as part of the fun experience part, because it's not just a cooking show, it's an experience. You're in Disney World with us.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so you're obviously not, are you like the kind of the MC of all of these? It doesn't seem very scalable, long term, but is that still something that you're doing now?
Yeah, that's another great question. So in the beginning, I was, quality control, understanding how the methodologies work and so on. So I would be kind of the host of the event and kind of not navigate, but orchestrate the conversations between the people and the chefs and the little nuances that were happening and those pregnant pauses when the chef was actually, turned their back because they had to cook something. And in the virtual world, you can't have that. You can't have 10-second pauses. You've got to always keep it going. And so that's a rule that I would play. But as we expand, the way we're going to be able to scale that is that the chefs will be able to hire some of their other chefs that are in the community to host theirs. So there's a lot of camaraderie happening amongst all the players to support each other as they build their own cheftorial business using our platform.
Wow, that's so cool. It kind of makes sense looking back at your story, and you've kind of always been involved. I didn't ask the question, but I'm assuming you like to eat, even though you don't like to cook.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a meat and potatoes guy. But I have become embarrassed. I'm going to give my friends at HelloFresh a little shout out. I've been learning to enjoy cooking. It's the prep that I've learned that I don't like. It's the cooking part I'm all fine with. If it's all there, I'm good.
Interesting. Okay, gotcha. So you don't like the, kind of trying to get everything on the recipe gathered together and all of that.
You said that. I don't know. Have you tried HelloFresh?
We did. What's the other one? I haven't tried. Sorry,
is it Chef's Plate?
No, it's the other popular one. And we tried it. We really enjoyed the experience. We got like a voucher from my brother-in-law that I think it cost us like $2 to get 4 meals or something, which was crazy. Yeah. And so we had fun building them, and it's gonna seem like I don't want to bring it on the show because I don't want to. Maybe I want them to sponsor me, but it just slipped my mind right now. But yeah, it's a fun experience. It's a fun experience.
You're a businessman, dude. You're a businessman. I love it.
Exactly. So reach out to me if you want to be sponsored for this food show. Right. But no, that's such an interest.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to forget the fact of the emotional part of what we've been through too. And look, I don't want to think that there hasn't been some struggles along the way, but in the game of entrepreneurship, and this very well, you're very good at what you do. There's rules to the game for success, and what you need to do is make sure you're understanding those rules for success and then practicing them. And because I've been hit many times along the way. And, that's why the mountain's so narrow. Is one is there's not room up there for a lot of people, but also it's easy to fall off it. And so I just you just go through those motions, discipline, focus every day with a little bit of faith, wherever your faith happens to be, that things will work out if you're playing the game consistently. That's why Tom Brady's so darn good at what he does. He's just consistent at how he approaches the rules of executing the game of football.
I love that you bring that up, because that's a big theme on you often bring Brady up on your feed, and obviously you've been following him for a while. What drew you to him? Were you always a Patriots fan?
Thank you for asking. I've never been asked that question, by the way, in a podcast interview. So here I go.
I love it. Here's your chance.
Yeah, here's my chance. No, a few buddies and we were down to Boston one time for a sports weekend: football, hockey, basketball. No baseball at that time. Thank God, I did not enjoy that sport. And anyway, we went to a football game, and my buddy Gary and I we were looking at the ticket prices, and this is in the old stadium when they sucked. And so back then, he and I just throw caution to the wind on that stuff. Let's get season tickets to the Patriots. And at that point in time, there was only 5,000 on the waiting list. Now there's like 105,000.
Wow.
And anyway, so we had season tickets before Brady came along, and we would sell them every year. People would buy them, and so I was part of the Brady journey. And one of the things I love about that guy is everything that they talk about was overlooked by tons of people. Overlooked because he didn't have what was supposed to fit the mold. And you've heard me say this before. My success in life has always been predicated on zagging when everybody else zigs. Well, he had a zag that nobody really identified. And he just kept doing this consistent focus on excellence all the time. Excellence, excellence, excellence. And one of the things that he does, he's all about team. And, I see guys like Aaron Rodgers, even Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, all these other guys who are so-called great quarterbacks and good for the game. No, they took tons of money from their teams, which prevented them from actually building a team around them. So you always wanted to be a champion. And look, he made lots of money, and everybody says his wife just makes lots of money too. But that's, to me, irrelevant. He still made a ton of money, but he focused on team. And in business, team is everything. Everything. And he was willing to do that. Attention to detail, looking after his health, looking after his mind, always strategizing as to how he can become better. And it was an underdog story that continues to be written today beyond your wildest dreams that you would ever guess. So, and plus, I enjoyed a lot of championships along the way with him. So emotionally, I'm attached to the guy. But he just oozes excellence. And I got a painting of him right here that a lady in Fredericton did. She colorblind actually, and she did an amazing job with it. But I use him. He's my avatar. When I think about what do I need to do, how do I keep going, particularly during those down times, I think of Tom Brady. What would Tom Brady do? And
that's cool. I don't know who jumped on here thinking it'd be a cooking show and two Canadians bashing every other quarterback like Brady, but you came for the ride. So drop some comments and get riled up. Let's go. Yeah,
right on.
No, that's good. I jumped in. I never was much of a football guy until I met my now wife, Alyssa. Her family was in the States for a while. They obviously were inducted into the football culture down there. They went to their first Sugar Bowl party, and they thought it was a big potluck because they'd never heard of a Sugar Bowl, right? So they brought a bunch of desserts, and everybody's like, what's going on? But anyway, Brady became her team. the Patriots became her team, and Brady was her guy, and so that was what we ended up watching a lot of. And as I've gotten to know him more over the past 7 years, and work ethic is huge.
Huge.
Work ethic, and the way that he tapers his whole physical season toward the Super Bowl Sunday, it's just wild.
Yeah, just wild. And, when I hear people tell me they're busy, I say, no, Tom Brady's busy. You say, it's a matter of where your priorities are, and you have to own those priorities. You can't own busy. You just have to own your priorities, and which is fine. If those priorities are not to do those things, and don't blame busy as to why you can't do something. In my opinion, you get say a guy like Brady, that guy's busy.
That speaks to the whole entrepreneur business owner thing. I've definitely fallen trap to, I'm busy. I've got 2 under 2. I've got a business that's just starting, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I find time to sleep and eat every day. What's important to me, really, right? So can we dive into Relish a little bit, Rivers?
Yeah,
talk about, the rise and fall of that venture.
Yeah, in the fall of it too. So where do you want to go? How do you want to start it?
Bring us up to speed on what it was. I mean, I know it as the a local hamburger joint here, but I know you had worked on expanding. So maybe draw out the lessons ultimately, because the story is important, and then the lessons woven in there.
Yeah, so I'll summarize the story very quickly. So my business partner and the rent-a-chef, he had moved on, and so I was looking for. I'm a chef pimp. I'm not a chef, so I needed that expertise around me. Found Chef Ray Henry, who was working at Brewbakers at the time in Fredericton, for those that are from there. And we came up with this great idea of not just doing burgers, but doing gourmet burgers. And I'm a brand guy. I'm a zagger. You zag when everybody else zigs. And one of the things that we built was a really cool culture, not just great burgers, but a cool culture. When you walked in there, everybody would go, "Welcome!" And we relish Lewis, and your name would come up, and everybody would go Lewis, and it became really a nice, as I like to say, a Disney World of culinary experiences. And we expanded that. We had 12 operations across the country in a franchise model, and some corporate. And anyway, ultimately it fell. And those are some of the lessons I'll convey now. We always wanted to grow it to 101 locations, but we need
to awfully specific.
But it's a zag, right? Because everybody else picks 100.
Yeah.
So our culture was based a lot around zag. When we get into strategy, we would talk about, okay, is that a zag? If it was a zag, then we would do it. If it was a zig, then it's just like being like everybody else. And when you're just like everybody else, then the only thing that's going to allow you to compete is price. And we weren't willing to do that. At that point, we were selling burgers at $9 a piece, like just unheard of. Now it's a no big deal, but and a full meal with tax in at $15. And so we always had to push that edge. And so I guess that's the first lesson, is that there's reasons that people go to Disney World and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. It's because of the experience. They can stay in town, go to the local carnival, and get a lot of experiences a lot cheaper, but they'll go to pay more. And so don't ever forget the value of the experience on top of the product or service that you're having to sell, because people make decisions based on their heart primarily. Yes, there's a practical component, as I need a hammer or I need a nail, but it's why Canadian Tire over Home Depot? Well, it's because of the experience, the customer service, the look and feel of the operation. All those other elements come into play. So that's the first thing. This is a restaurant business, and we were able to do what we did for that time period. The other thing that I would reinforce to people is be careful who you get into bed with. We were growing. We needed to grow. Make a long story short, we ended up taking an investment from a group out of Turkey, of all places, and we chased the money. We didn't research the person, the investor behind it. And I've heard so many horrible stories of investors getting involved with businesses, and when things get tough, it gets very tough for the person who's received the money, because there's a lot of pressures. And this gentleman, in this case, cultures were different. terminologies were different, all those things. And it became very, very, very uncomfortable. And he put leadership into play. We retained about 30% of our business, and they took 70%. And so they were in control. And so they put their ownership team, their leadership team in place, and Chef Ray and I were kind of at the VP level, if you want to put it that way. Anyway, it was a horrific journey. It was really ugly, and ultimately caused the demise of the entire operation because of the lack of good leadership with regards to them. So that's one. And the third thing, and I think what I would suggest is I'm going to bring in my friend Mohammed, who runs Rotocan Coffee in Fredericton. He's very community oriented, and when you're dealing with any type of businesses that have a public representation in a city, in a community, get out and get involved in the community, participate in the things that are going on in your community, and people will support you. Just because you've got a restaurant doesn't mean that people are going to support you. People support those they know and they like. There is a relationship piece to business, and so you got to get out and you got to get engaged. And if you're not good at it, get somebody that is. I'm not good as an accountant. I got a great accountant. I'm good at getting in the community, opening my mouth, shaking hands, and kissing babies. That's what I do. And I ain't bragging, but that's my play. That's where I enjoy doing it. So understand get in the community, but understand your role in your business also, and you get those that support, that can fill those voids. I mean, for goodness sakes, 12 restaurants, and I never cooked one burger one time, Louis, that entire time that business was operating, and it was open for business for 8 years. Not once did I cook a burger. Washed a lot of dishes, but didn't cook a burger once.
That's wild.
Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah, and I love. I mean, now, you can kind of look back and see, but I appreciate you telling the story. A lot of people, they kind of want to keep those skeletons in the closet, right? But it's important to, obviously you've had to learn and take those lessons and move on with them as you go into new ventures, but to be able to share about them is important as well. There's a story, I think it was you, and I think it was with Relish, of you going down the streets with shirts.
With shirts?
Was that you? Was that with Relish, where you were like giving out shirts or calling people out in the street and giving away?
There is a story. Yeah, there is a story with that. Yeah, and it's a great story, and I love telling it. And yes, so the story goes like this: is that when people would come into the store, the original was in downtown Fredericton, close to Victory Meat Market, and when I would pull into the parking lot, because remember, I'm all about ZAG experiences. I'm all about shock treatment. Richard Branson is one of my favorite entrepreneurs because he just knows how to market. Anyway, so yeah, I would do this. So I would go there and I'd see people coming out of Relish with a paper bag. It was a beautiful bag. So I always call it the purse, and it would have a Relish logo on it. And I wouldn't get out of my car, because I would wait for them to get about half a block down the street. And then I would get out of my car and I'd start running after them. I'd go, hey, hey, hey. And I'd yell it real loud so everybody could hear me. And people would look around and say, yeah, I'm you. I'm going to talk to you. And anyway, and they'd stop and I said, did you just go to Relish? And I know they did, because they had the freaking bag in their hand. And I said, yeah. They said, yeah. I said, well, look, I'm one of the owners. I just really want to thank you for your business today. That was so amazing. I can't thank you enough for your business. And in the smiles on their faces. And one of the strategies behind it is I wanted them to go back to their office and tell people that story. And the burgers were the hero of the stories, but it's all the other things around it that they say the owner chased me down the street, and you're telling the story now. So it's folklore.
Yeah,
but that's what I used to do, and I used to do it all the time because I didn't care. And people absolutely loved it. Now here's the thing about that though, Louis, is that I couldn't get anybody else on my team to do it. And that's why the team piece is so important. You have to have, if you're going to build a culture of craziness, you have to have people around you that'll do the same thing. And so we always struggle with that, is how do we get people to do that within the team?
How do you get enough crazies?
How do you get at least 3 of them, let alone 4 of them, right? And
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't remember.
Remember we were interviewing some guy once, and we said, "Okay, you're almost done the interview. We want you to go downstairs and just say, I relish, and just yell it out loud, and then come back up the stairs again." Anyway, the guy went and did it and got the job, obviously.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this has been fun. I always enjoy chatting with you over the phone, and this has been even better. And I know that people will enjoy this. If how can people find you, and what's a parting thought for business? Anything before we head off here.
Yeah, and thank you, Louis, for your time. And I'm not blowing wind here, folks. This guy's done an amazing job as an entrepreneur, and really grabbing onto a career that he not only does for his family, but he serves the community too. So keep doing what you're doing, and thanks for this opportunity. People can get a hold of me. They can go to riverscorbett.ca. That goes to my LinkedIn profile. If you want to go to Cheftorial, it's just cheftorial.com. It's a play on tutorial. So riverscorbett.ca or cheftorial.com. And the last piece of advice I would give to entrepreneurs is it was a story by Richard Branson. He likes to ask this question, and when he's at conferences and so on, he says, if there's one thing you had to look after for the success of your business, what would it be? And people would raise, cash flow, customer service, staff, and so on. He says, no. He says, you got to look after your health. And that's where entrepreneurs fail, particularly those that are solopreneurs. Their health disappears, and then their business disappears. Got to make sure you look after your health along the way. I've suffered with depression 3 times. And fortunately, I had a team that could pick up the slack, but I learned a lesson there. I could go totally bankrupt 18 times in a year, but as long as I had my health, I always had a chance to come back. So look after your health. It's so, so important in your journey as an entrepreneur. I'm not talking just physical health. I'm talking mental health. That's my thoughts, my friend.
That's huge. And, I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate your support along the way, and, hopping on phone calls with me as I get going, and always, popping into my inbox and letting me know, that you appreciate what I'm doing. So guys, Rivers, get in touch with him. Cheftorial is in his name there, right on screen. So go right over to Cheftorial, see what he's doing. Let your friends in high places know what he's up to, and hire them on for an event. It's a cool concept, and I think something that we're going to see popping up more and more as success leaves clues, and people are going to want to do that. So Rivers, it's been awesome. Appreciate you on here. I'll end the broadcast here, and then we'll just wrap up off air and both get back to it.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.